Hello everyone and welcome to the Genesis GV70. This 2022 compact crossover is the first entry for Genesis in what might be the most competitive segment in the entire automotive industry, the premium compact crossover. And of course, with Genesis being quite a new brand, they're certainly far behind the already established players. So a product like this not only has to be competent and competitive, but I think it also needs to offer something that you can't already find in this well-established class. And spoiler alert, I think Genesis has made a very competent and very attractive product, but also has brought some interesting elements in terms of design and technology that you can't find in this class elsewhere. And due to that, I think it's going to have some major success in this class. But I want to first talk about the exact model that I'm driving. Here I'm in the Sport Plus, which is the ultimate version of the GV70. It has a 3.5 litre twin turbocharged longitudinally mounted V6 with 375 horsepower and 391 pound-feet of torque. And the GV70 is built upon the same platform as the G70. Please go refer to my quick review of the 2022 G70 so that you can compare the differences in terms of ride quality for this product versus the G70, which was a very successful sports compact sedan, but the sports is the more critical element of that sentence. For this vehicle, it's much calmer, much smoother, and I think a lot more acceptable to a wider range of buyers. So unlike the larger G80 sedan or GV80 SUV, the GV70 isn't totally a pure Genesis product. It is something that is shared with, as I said, the G70, which was shared in development with the Kia Stinger. So perhaps not as premium of an underpinning that, like I said, the G80 or the GV80 have with their own dedicated platforms. But with everything that is provided here in this product and what you get back in terms of feel and quality, it might as well be a purely designed Genesis product. So talking about the ride quality, first of all, the GV70, even with these 21-inch rims, is much softer, much calmer than what the G70 was. Here I'm on a pretty rough bit of road and you can hear the suspension working away, but it doesn't actually impact much of the cabin stability or the body control. It's very well mannered, and with this V6 engine it has a good amount of thrust behind it. The 8-speed transmission and the all-wheel drive system are quite responsive, but I do find that the throttle sensitivity in comfort mode is a bit too lagging, and then in sport it's a bit too twitchy. I would really like a middle ground in between those two settings, and along with those driving modes you also have Eco, Sport Plus and Custom, and then if you push down on the button to go from drive to terrain, you then open up a couple of other modes which are mud, snow and sand. This is where the system is going to be sending more power more often to the front wheels. It's evident that driving this GV70 that its all-wheel drive system has a rear bias effect to it. Maybe not as much as something like a BMW X3. Other elements of driving on the highway, this vehicle is just as quiet as all of its German rivals. When you're cruising or idling, you never notice any of the engine's vibrations or harshness coming into the cabin. Really, if you're sitting at like the 6,000 RPM line and you're holding it there in sport mode, that's really the only time that you get the sense of rumbling from this V6 engine entering into the cabin space. Apart from the throttle sensitivity issue that I just mentioned, the other thing is that this V6 doesn't really make much noise, nothing really coming from the front or from the exhaust system, and that's why Genesis creates that active sound design system, which is a totally synthesized noise coming from the speakers. And this is a system that always irritates me in new cars, but mercifully Genesis gives you the option to turn it off. It really is just that simple. So I'm very, very happy that is in place. Now let's talk about the interior, because I think this is a real winner for Genesis. We're looking at a product that does share some components with other Genesis products, but there's a lot of unique elements in this vehicle that really make it stand apart, even from vehicles that are more expensive than it in its own family. So you'll notice that there's this oval theme throughout the cabin, where you open up the door handles, the speaker grills, the memory seat selection, and this piece that stretches behind the steering wheel, encapsulating on the right hand side all of your climate control systems, and then on the left hand side some of the other smaller buttons related to the cabin. So there's evidently more than a few components that are bespoke to the GV70, and here in this Sport Plus we have a few great additional features like the Nappa leather throughout the cabin, the 12.3-inch 3D digital instrument cluster, remote smart park, amongst a host of other things. And I said in my G70 review that it was the last couple of percentages that really stop a vehicle like that to be directly compared to an Audi's cabin or a BMW's cabin, when you can get sort of the full leather throughout. Here in this GV70, the material use is really going to make, I think, some of the German companies panic. Here we're in a cabin that isn't black but navy blue, and it's kind of hard to pick up on camera, but this is the kind of blue you would see on an expensive suit. Perhaps those other players are being a bit too conservative, or they know what their customers want. But if you are ever looking for a vehicle in this class to have this sort of rewarding of a cabin in terms of design and really uniqueness, the GV70 honestly is a real winner. Interacting with all the technology in the GV70 is mostly flawless. We've got the 14.5-inch widescreen touchscreen display, which has Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and a beautiful Genesis user interface. You know, so often you get into a vehicle and you just want to use Apple CarPlay or Android Auto and kind of call it a day, but all of the other elements that are part of this user experience on the screen here in the GV70 are quite satisfying to interact with and to look at. Not only is this screen a touchscreen, but we have a rotary wheel setup like we had in the G80 review that I made about a month ago, but you'll note that the knob is quite a bit different to that G80. Here it's more of the traditional iDrive shape, a lot more vertical mass to it, and perhaps there was the inability to put that G80 system into this product, or maybe there's been enough customer feedback or journalistical feedback that they wanted to go with a different system. I do prefer this. It is a lot more natural to interact with than the rotary wheel that was in the G80. So it'll be interesting to see with the next Genesis product, whatever it might be, what it will come with to interact with the rest of the car. Using the climate control is a haptic feedback touchscreen down here that has given me absolutely no problems at all. I like that we have physical knobs for turning the temperature up and down. Looking at these seats, they definitely don't have as much under leg support as something like BMW's X3 does, but I can tell you that after a few hours driving this, I could tell that they were very, very supportive seats, and they have a massaging feature as well, which is pretty cool in this compact class. You don't often see that. Issues with the interior? Well, honestly, build quality is as good as I would expect out of most of the German vehicles. Still, I think something like Audi is the best that you could find in this class. And the 12.3-inch 3D element of the digital instrument cluster, I'm not personally a fan of. I've turned it off here, and you can clearly see how the resolution and the brightness goes down when you're in the 3D mode. It does work. I can tell the differences between what the center screen is closer to me and the dials a little bit further away. But for me personally, it causes a bit of eye ache after a while, and I would much rather have a brighter, crisper screen. So the 3D element is something I turn off and probably won't ever use if this was my personal vehicle. Beyond that, honestly, very few problems at all. Moving over into the second row, I can quite happily sit behind myself, even though knee room and headroom is a little bit tight. With the reclining seats in this second row, if you are 6'4" like me, I think you could just pitch those seats back a little bit and be very comfortable on a long drive. It's clear that the drivetrain hump that's in this product will hinder the ability to carry 3 adults comfortably, but 2 back there, this is a fantastic space to be in. The seats don't slide forward and backwards like they do in other products, but you'll see that when you drop the seats down, they are very close to a flat floor. And then heading over to the trunk space, under the carpet and the false floor, you'll see that you have a space to hide away the security cover. I really appreciate that feature. And then you also have a space saver spare wheel. In summarization then, the GV70 absolutely has something that I wasn't really expecting out of this product, and that is its own unique flair. The interior is such a gorgeous space to be in, and interacting with all of its systems are so effective. I think this is going to be the single most convincing element to anybody that's gone from any of the other products in this segment of the market to sit down in this and look around and feel like they are in a freshly designed vehicle from what to them might be an all-new brand. To speak briefly on the price of this product, we are looking at a vehicle that is much more aligned to the bigger engined vehicles in this category. So BMW X3 M40i, Audi SQ5, this is a much closer pricing to the GV70 than other vehicles from Genesis I've tested out, where one of the main points to them is that they have some kind of significant value proposition, not only in price, but with the built-in Genesis benefits of the 5-year scheduled maintenance. You know, they pick up your car for you and drop off another one. That is still retained here, but the price isn't as competitive as some of its other products. But I really don't think that is going to be a problem for Genesis in this product. They have built something that is so superb that even if it was going absolutely dollar for dollar with its main rivals, we would still be looking at a very, very competitive product. So thank you very much for taking the time to watching this video, and I hope to see you again on the channel soon.